team. And if you're going to be a team that's going to try to win your division again, the Rams are the team you're going to have to beat. I do believe the Rams are just better as a roster than the 49ers right now. So genuinely curious to see that matchup, whether it's at SoFi or Levi's. I think it should be a really entertaining one. And these are the games that the Niners will certainly be circling next year.
I always get like an ulcer every time they play them, you know.
The Rams have done that to you.
Yeah. And it's times where we win and you know, great wins, and times where we
They're going to end at 21 when you guys get in the playoffs at the last second, but then the NFC Championship.
Or then the other way around when we lose to them. And
yeah.
It just, you know. But LA, you know, the Rams always, especially with the team they got going on right now, they're always a tough opponent.
Trying to think of some honorable mentions here for this Niners team. I could throw out Jacksonville maybe as a potential interesting one, but nothing crazy. Carolina is another interesting one.
Is there a Cowboy game?
No Cowboys. You get no Cowboys this year.
No Raiders?
No Raiders. Chicago. You get Chicago again. And you did some fun things against Chicago. But like I said, this is going to be a very cupcake. This is as easy as it gets for the Niners. Like I said, it's right in front of them. So we'll see how it's mixed together for this Niners team, how many prime time they get, all that interesting stuff. The Niners have a lot to figure out as far as 2025 is concerned. We will see if they get on the international schedule. But I don't think they could because of the way the rules are. So we'll see how it all plays out.
At FFB, we know behind every business is a person. That's why we're more than a bank. We're a partner, a farming-focused bank for hard workers, a future-forward bank for big dreamers, and a family-friendly bank for the next generation of owners. From first ideas to major milestones, we're here to help you chase your goals and score big. So what can FFB mean for your business? Find out at ffb.bank. That's ffb.bank. FFB Bank. Let's win together.
Everyday Junk Removal and Hauling was awarded the first place gold in the Fresno Bee Best of Central California People's Choice 2025. Thank you to Fresno for voting Everyday Junk Fresno's best. They'll haul away furniture, mattresses, appliances, construction debris, gone for good. Need a bigger cleanup? They offer dumpster rentals too. Everyday Junk Removal gets the job done right. Call them today and receive $20 off a half load or more. Get your free quote now at everydayjunkremoval.com.
I know how important some of this equipment for the farmers is. Without it, they can't get the job done.
That's Bob Aguirre, service manager at Pioneer Equipment Company.
My philosophy is get the tractor in and get it out as fast as I can. It's not supposed to be in the shop. It's supposed to be out in the field working.
Pioneer provides quality service for Kubota, Land Pride, and Nelson Equipment. Stop by and say hi at our Fresno or Reedley locations, and we'll get your equipment serviced right away.
This is a family-oriented business. It's been great working for Pioneer Equipment.
Visit pioneerequipmentca.com.
Hey guys, Phil Bonatti here from Behind the Bench to tell you about my friends at Clovis Truck Center. That's right, you've heard me talk about getting ready for the summer. Well, now it's here. And if you still haven't gotten those things you need, quit slacking off. That's right, I'm talking to you. Get your vehicle ready for some summer fun, especially around the 4th of July weekend. Clovis Truck Center offers roof racking not just for trucks, but for SUVs and cars as well. So you can bring all that gear you need for that weekend getaway. They can also get you ready for towing as well, whether it's for that RV or boat that you plan to take up to the lake on a hot summer weekend. And if you're in a pinch, Clovis Truck Center can have you in and out as quickly as the same day with all they provide. They have all the things you need in stock, so it's right there in the shop. No waiting on a part to be shipped in and out the same day. Be sure to stop by Clovis Truck Center today, just located south of the Clovis Rodeo Grounds in Old Town Clovis. Remember, they're the first, the biggest, and still the best in the Central Valley.
Whoever it was that said rainy days are followed by rainbows and pots of gold definitely wasn't in the raisin business. Rain in the wrong place at the wrong time can be a disaster, a crop disaster, and a financial disaster. In short, it can mean there's no payday for all of your labor. Fortunately, it doesn't have to be that way. The solution? Crop insurance for raisins. Bowman & Associates, your local crop insurance specialist, has been writing raisin crop insurance for over 40 years. Bowman & Associates is one of the largest crop insurance agencies in the state and the nation. Call Roger, Kent, or Quinn Bowman today and let them design a policy customized to suit your individual growing needs. Time is running out to purchase raisin insurance. With the unstable weather patterns and the current low premium rates, now is the time to call Bowman & Associates at 499-2020. That's 499-2020.
Bowman & Associates, the crop insurance specialist.
License number OF64178.
Central Valley, are you ready for a seamless car buying journey? Madera Toyota Chevrolet has you covered. With their 25-year, 250,000-mile warranty and everything priced under MSRP, you're always in for a great deal. Plus, enjoy their no-pressure policy and 2 years of free maintenance on new vehicles, their way of saying thank you for choosing them. And calling all truck lovers, explore their selection of rugged Silverados, powerful Tundras, and versatile Tacomas. Whatever your needs, they have the perfect truck for you. Visit them today at MaderaToyotaChevrolet.com, where every drive begins with trust.
All right, welcome back to Behind the Bench here on ESPN 1430 Fresno, the Valley's local sports leader. So, show doesn't go without flubs, but we move on. That was the 49ers' best 3 games, according to Phil. That was his list, so always a good list with him. All right, next on the docket, a great interview that we had with Fresno State football coach Matt Entz back in January. Matt Entz hopefully leading the Bulldogs into some wins moving forward. So this is Phil talking to Matt Entz back in January.
All right, welcome back to Behind the Bench here on 1430 ESPN Fresno, the Valley's local sports leader, and very pleased to have our next guest right here in studio, the 20th head coach in Fresno State history here, Matt Entz. Is it hard to believe sometimes still, the 20th head coach here in program history?
It's all moved really quickly here over the course of the last 5-6 weeks, but super excited to be here. Met so many unbelievable people that have been so helpful along the first month and a half of me being on the job, but really excited to be in the Valley and be at Fresno State.
Yeah, you've been a very busy man since you've been hired since the press conference, right? And so it's nice to maybe settle in a little bit after all that the craziness of hiring the coaches. Of course, you've been talking to a lot of guys, a lot of players. And
yep.
How has it been over the last month, the whirlwind, to say, of getting back on your feet here?
Well, just part of it was timing. Being hired right there, first, second week of December, the Bulldogs were in bowl prep, wanted to be as non-evasive or get involved or be a distraction as much as I could at that time. So had some numerous conversations with players at that time. Probably met with about 70 of the current roster, members of the roster right now. But again, I didn't want to dive in. I wanted the 2024 team to feel like that they had the ability to go finish their season, go out on a good positive note with the coaching staff. So I kind of just stayed back but once we got back from the holidays and once we started having our players come back in, it was name with a face, trying to connect, pull back some layers, get to know their stories a little bit. They've been in the weight room with Coach Ward. This is week 2 right now of lifting. We have a number of things that are coming up. We're going to do spring ball a little bit early this year, earlier than maybe normal, part of it because of the unique spring break timing that we have at Fresno State. But I think the other part is, our staff and myself included are excited to get to work with these young men and see where we're at and see what we have.
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot to look forward to this time, right? And everyone's excited for this new batch of group that's coming in. But I want to start with you because I want people to kind of understand the context of who you are and where you kind of come from. And I'm sure everyone's interested where football started for you. I'll maybe start early here, where it's like, when did coaching become kind of the first thing for you? Because back in Iowa, right?
Right.
You're there at Wartburg College out there. And when did you kind of know I wanted to coach here?
Well, I think, I wrapped up my eligibility. I had a semester left of school. Bob Nielsen, who was the head football coach, who just recently retired from the University of South Dakota, was my head coach and allowed me to be a student coach for that final semester. And, that was probably when I caught the bug. And from then on, it's been, helped me find a graduate assistant job, first full-time job, first time being a defensive coordinator, being a head coach. And now I'm probably, I hate to say it, it's probably 28, 29 years in the profession. I'm aging myself really quickly there, but
time flies.
It has. When you get to hang out with 18 to 22-year-olds for a living and coach a game, I've been unbelievably blessed to be around tremendous people my whole career. Like I said, I've never had a bad job. There's always been, a ton of positives. I've had a lot of success in my career, and I'm very fortunate, to be the places that I've been.
Yeah, certainly. There's a couple notable ones. Obviously, graduate school at Wayne State. I'm real familiar with the Wayne States of the world, the Winona States of the world, from when I was covering UMary over in Bismarck. So I know that kind of style of football on the D2 level. How much of a grind was it, but also how rewarding was it to kind of cut your teeth there?
Well, it was unbelievably rewarding and unbelievably developmental for a young football coach. At the Division II level, you don't have all the support staff you have other places, and so you wear multiple hats. And I think those experiences, being at Wayne State, being at Winona State, where I was at Winona for 10 years, defensive coordinator, assistant head coach, ran camps, had other duties, ran our off-season conditioning program, and I think all those experiences give you greater insight, greater knowledge to becoming a head football coach at some point. Not that I need to have my hands in all these other areas, but I do think that you have a good idea what you want it to look like. You have some actual experience doing those things, and I think that's valuable.
And those guys, when they're playing in that level, you get a lot of those guys because they don't know how much longer they got with the sport, right? With the D2 level, how much did you feel like you saw out of those players and trying to draw things out of them from that level, and how much did they teach you about the game with how much you could kind of push them?
Well, I think the people at that level are playing football because they love the game.
Yeah.
It's providing probably some resources for them to pay for school, but when I worked at Winona State, the head football coach at the time, Coach Sawyer, was all about creating a positive atmosphere, but also creating a positive experience for our players. And I think by coaching them with great detail and great energy, being highly demanding on and off the field, it's created probably a little bit of my philosophy moving forward, being a head football coach. But the ability to create relationships, the ability to impact, and to get to know these players on a different level. I think when they know you care, they're going to care too, just as much. But like I said, those experiences were outstanding. And Winona's always going to be special because that's where both the hometown. That's where both my boys were born there, and so it was we were there for 10 years or so, and it was a great experience. And won a ton of football games there, and that level of football, Division II football, small college football is I think really valuable. It's something we don't want to lose, and has a role in college athletics.
Absolutely. You then go to Northern Iowa, right? And I'm going to name some names here because there's some names people may remember from these Northern Iowa teams that you were part of. Maybe some not. Ben Boothby, right?
Yep.
Varma Sani, L.J. Fort. I know L.J. Fort pretty from his NFL days.
Yep.
Of course, David Johnson.
Right.
Everyone knows of him, but that was kind of a special era of Northern Iowa football.
It was. We had a tremendous group. The other one that's not on is Xavier Williams, who ended up winning a Super Bowl with Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. Xavier was out of the Kansas City area. That was his hometown. Got to play for his hometown team and won a Super Bowl with them. And so, that was a fun. I'm from that area. That was hometown, and to be able to get back for those 3-4 years to be at Northern Iowa, a ton of success. Won a couple conference championships while I was there. Mark Farley was the head coach at the time, who I think just retired this last year, was the winningest coach in the Missouri Valley football history. Very successful coach, defensive-oriented head football coach. Learned a lot. Gave me an opportunity to get into Division I football, and to this day I owe him a lot of gratitude for taking a shot at a small school guy.
Yeah, certainly. Was it a different adjustment to the D1 level, the FCS, because from the D2 to the D1, and how was it, getting to coach some NFL caliber guys, like you said, some guys who like David Johnson, like LJ Fort, some guys like that, and then you were kind of seeing some of the scouting that was coming through, probably talking to some NFL guys in that sense.
There were some differences, but I think for the most part, I've tried to. I think I've been pretty consistent along the way of treating everyone appropriately.
Yeah.
The thing that I've always tried to emphasize is we're going to have great respect within our position room or unit room, and if we become friends along the way, then good for us. That means you're probably having a great experience, and we're really enjoying, the opportunity that's been presented to us. And so I think the thing I noticed when you got to, a place like University of Northern Iowa was just the access that you had to high caliber players. And that was probably the first place that I remember in recruiting. I recruited the state of Minnesota, kind of upper Midwest, was, high level FCS football, high level mid-major football like that.
Yeah.
You could beat some FBS teams on because of vision, because of development, because of the success that you've had and the opportunity. And there was a proven track record of getting to the NFL from a school like that.
Yeah, certainly. And proven track record on all really your stops. And, of course, the biggest one that people maybe obviously know you from is the North Dakota State stop.
Yeah.
And you initially were a defensive coach there to start under Kleiman, right?
Yep.
And, that's a different kind of animal, was North Dakota State, because I personally, I know how feverish those North Dakota State fans can be, and you learned firsthand from that experience, So what was like understanding what Coach Bohl built into what Coach Kleiman was a part of, and knowing the culture of that?
Well, it was, you talk about eyes wide open when I first got there. You come from a very successful program, Northern Iowa. You get to NDSU, and it's just on a different level. The passion, the energy, the support, the expectations of the fan base was unbelievable. They had just won 3 national championships in a row. Coach Bohl had kind of created this juggernaut that, just 3-4 years ago, they were 3-8. And, started to really emphasize recruiting in the Twin Cities, the state of Minnesota. This was about the same time that Tim Brewster was the head football coach at Minnesota. And, just saw an elevated level of player, but also the development piece. That's probably where I learned it, firsthand. And those my 10, 11 years at NDSU was, recruit tangible, measurable, and high character kids, and then build them into what you want them to be. And having an elite strength and conditioning program, having an elite nutrition program, at NDSU, that was one of the foundation or the fundamental pieces that we had there that allowed us to be successful. We could take these kids that were maybe too lean right now or didn't quite have the measurables that maybe the Big Ten Midwest teams wanted, but 2 years from now we could have they were right there, right where we needed them to be.
Yeah, and not just that, the caliber of player that comes in, those guys develop into guys that obviously have aspirations to even continue playing afterwards, and you see it so many times with the North Dakota State Bison, and even more now. The attention is there for that program. Was the selling point there like? You never know what you can develop into if you trust what we can put in front of you.
I think it was about the process.
Yeah,
we felt like we had a process that was second to none, one that was truly a developmental program, but also we sold the winning, opportunity to win championships, opportunity to play in front of a packed house, opportunity to do it the right way, and from the January of 2014 till I was done there. I mean, we continued to push the envelope from a budget standpoint, from a facility standpoint, from how we just operated as a program, and we probably operated closer to a mid-major program than we did FCS. And that was when I was a head coach there. We didn't allow our coaches to talk about being an FCS school because we didn't want anyone we knew that was the angle that other schools were going to use on us, and we weren't going to draw attention to it. So it was all mid-major program. You know, one of the top programs in the country. You know, when it comes to the development piece, but also the success piece and winning games.
When you took over from the defensive side to being a head coach, obviously pressures come along with that.
Yep.
As a head coach of that program. I think more so than many other jobs maybe in the nation when it comes to that. But tell me about when you took on that challenge as a head coach for the first time at North Dakota State. What was the exciting part about that opportunity for you, and what were you looking forward most to that opportunity that you've been building for so long?
Well, I think when I got into being a college coach back in 1996 or 97, whatever it might have been, my aspirations were always to be a head football coach. And so everything that I had tried to do up to that point, you know, being involved in all the different operating systems that create a football program was going to lead up to this. And so I felt like I was excited because I felt like I was prepared to be a head football coach. You know, moving into a program or becoming the head football coach of a place that's had tremendous amount of success and recent success, you know, it was about sustainability, not about development and growing and building the program. We'd already built it. I'd been there for 5 years. I knew every kid on the roster. I'd recruited a majority, you know, of you know, a lot of guys that you see that are in the NFL right now. You talk about, you know, Dylan Radins, you know, who's starting lineman for the Titans. You know, Zach Johnson, who's in the NFL. You know, I mean, just, you know, there's a Robbie Grimsley, who was Mr. Football in the state of Minnesota, who turned down a lot of other opportunities to come to NDSU. Felt like I had a great grasp of what we wanted to do from a footprint standpoint. It was, you know, the exciting point, you know, of taking that job was I think in 2018 we had about 25 seniors. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden I remember having long conversations with then current head football coach Chris Kleiman, who's now the head coach at Kansas State, and, you know, had to make a career decision. Did I want to go to a Power 5 and be part of that development and that build, or did I want to take over? I mean, we did not have an experienced quarterback on the roster. Yeah. We actually brought in a transfer that year because we were so nervous or concerned about that position. But we did have a young man in the wings there that was pretty dang good for us by the name of Trey Lance. But again, had never started. Yeah. You know, and so you never know how. You know, only had a couple O linemen coming back. Yeah. There's just a lot of question marks. But I think at the end of the day, my hunger to be a head football coach, but also my confidence in that we can get these kids coached up. I had a great understanding of what our roster looked like because I had been there and helped build the roster up to that point. And so it was, and I knew the expectations. Yeah. But I also knew the standard too of what this program looked like and what it wanted to be.
So obviously you have your tenure there, the national championships. You go to USC for a year. Obviously you had the drive to one day be at this level, right? The FBS level and head coach, and you understood that maybe the experience at the FBS level was needed, and obviously the USC job was where you found it. And Lincoln Riley gave you that chance. And what brought up that opportunity for you, and how did that 1 year at USC form you into the ability to be the guy that was hired here?
You know, I think I was ready to be the head coach at an FBS school regardless if I went, but there had been through some interview process, you know, I don't know if, you know, I think some people were worried about losing the press conference because he was an FCS guy. Yeah. Not that, had nothing to do with my ability to coach. And so
I'll be frank, I thought you were definitely ready.
Yeah. Just, you know, no, but again,
from what I watched.
Yeah. From, you know, boosters and supporters and things, everyone wants to have an exciting hire and energy and things. But, you know, when the thoughts came around of, you know, I was kind of at a crossroads in my career. Hey, either I'm staying at NDSU and going to finish this thing out and probably retire here, or, you know, am I looking for change? And I'm one of those people that I tell our players all the time is when things are uncomfortable, that's when there's the greatest growth. So you got to be uncomfortable at times. And so I had some opportunities at the Power 5 level. A little over a year ago, defensive coordinator at another Big Ten school, assistant coach at an SEC school. But having a conversation with Lincoln, understanding where USC is, the tradition that it's had, I felt like that was going to be the one that took me out of my comfort zone the most. I mean, to stay in the Big Ten country.
You never lived in California before.
Exactly.
It's a whole different area.
It was going to require me to recruit a whole different type of player, but nationally, use my connections that I had, but create new ones. And it did all those. I tell you what, the defensive staff that I got to work with at USC, maybe one of the best group of men, but also probably the best defensive staff that I've ever been part of. When you talk about Danton Lynn, Doug Belk, Sean Nua, Eric Henderson, Henny, all those guys. And then Taylor Mays, who's now the safeties coach up at Washington, Bryson Allen Williams, Skylar Jones. All those guys were unbelievable. And that was the hard part, because I knew that that was a fun group every day to go in and work with, and you saw our work. I think the most improved defense in college football last year. It went from like 120th to 30th, and did it really with a lot of the same bodies, the same people, and so those guys are going to have continued success. But I think having been at USC probably became a little antsy at times about, maybe I enjoyed being a head football coach more than I anticipated. And there was every year there's a number of jobs that come open in the head coaching cycle, but this was the one that caught my eye because of I remembered the energy. I remembered that would be a game if it were on a late. Usually in the Midwest it was a late Saturday night game, and
because I was going to ask.
I'm watching Fresno State.
Yeah, I was like, when did Fresno State kind of be the program on your radar? I don't know how early, the Pat Hill days, like when you kind of started hearing about us.
I GA'd for Dennis Wagner, who was the O-line coach for Pat Hill here. And I think when Coach Wagner came here, I became a fan because I was a fan of Dennis Wagner. Yeah. And so I became a fan. And then, being in the Midwest, these were probably, because of the time change, these were the after the after dark games. These were the late night games.
You're getting home from games yourself, and
these were the ones that were still on.
Exactly.
They were the 9 o'clock kickoff in the Midwest, 7 o'clock out here, and so you watch these games. And I don't remember who they were playing, but I, the first time I heard, was it the anybody, anywhere, anytime type of mantra. The checkerboard end zones. It was grass field back then still. The Carr brothers. The energy that was in that stadium. But I think it was an early season game. There was someone that you didn't anticipate coming into Fresno and playing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, man, what a great game it was. There was a level of physicality and it reminded me of Midwestern football, Big Ten football, and I think that's where my appreciation for it probably started, back, early assistant, coach years at Wayne State, and just always a place that I'd kind of kept track of. I know the Mountain West has been and is, in an elite league. Having known a number of guys, Craig Bohl has become a great friend. He used to be the former head coach at Wyoming.
Yeah.
Jake Dickert is a connection of mine who was up at Wazoo. There were plenty of people that I kind of, as this opened and had, legs to it, that I was checking in to make sure that, what I saw was accurate. There's a footprint for great recruiting. There's an energy and a buzz about everything Bulldogs in the Valley. And there's a lot of similarities between Fresno State and North Dakota State as far as the energy and the passion of the fan base. It's the biggest show in town. We are the Green Bay Packers of
this is our NFL team
of the Central Valley,
basically.
And so and that's very similar to the way it was up in Fargo.
Exactly. you hit a memory for me, because I always think of those big opponents that come in, like the Oregon State back in the day, obviously with the big upset. You think Wisconsin that came in. We had Nebraska come in when I was going there at college. So
Yep.
I'm just thinking of those big name programs. Texas Tech, I think, is still on the schedule.
Yep.
UCLA, which was a big, it's coming on the schedule, obviously. So the fans are drawn to that idea of obviously the mantra that Pat Hill put on.
And we need to keep continuing to try to find ways to get people here.
Exactly.
And that we're going to have to be creative in our scheduling. We might have to go somewhere twice to get them back here once. But we need to get some of those teams here. I mean, I'm sure there's not a lot of people lining up to do it. You know,
it's a little scary more for the college.
Right.
Yeah,
but you're talking about, this is one of the best fan bases, if probably the best fan base on the West Coast. When you talk about percentage of capacity, the energy, tailgating scene, best one in California. And probably western half of the country.
So when you talk to recruits, right? When you talk to the players, some of the guys who you're talking to, like, you got to, when you compete here, like, you're going to get a whole army of people behind you that are like this whole Central Valley that's so passionate about it. Is that part of that process for you? And you're like, you got to understand what game day is going to be like here. It's going to be something totally different than what you expect.
do. I mean, I haven't experienced a game day yet. I've just kind of seen it through the lens of video.
It's fun. I'll tell you.
Yeah. but what we sell is that you want to be somewhere where football's important.
Yeah.
And with our leadership on campus, our president, our athletic director, we know football's important. It's the front porch of the university. We get an opportunity to kick off every academic year with football, and we get to set the tone for what that year looks like. And we want to make sure, and we want to recruit young men that appreciate that. The greatest resource we have here in the Valley is the people, and we need to make sure that our recruits understand that these fans, are passionate about everything that's Bulldog related.
On top of all of that, and being competitive and putting a good product on the field, part of it also is selling people the idea to invest in this program. And that's been maybe some of the big things that Fresno State still needs, obviously, moving forward. And you know the facilities and where we're at right now, and you know what is kind of needed if you want to, obviously, you want to implement your system into this situation, and with the nutrition, with the strength and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Selling the public on what Fresno State football is going to look like moving forward, how big of that is to share the message for the people there?
I think it's critical. I think it's huge. And having opportunities like this today is critical. But I think there's two things that we have to, two areas that we have to be really good at, within a program. And the first one is player retention and player acquisition. How do we keep the best players here? How do we keep guys who have success here, but how do we then go find new players that we can continue to develop? And that's where that falls onto, some collective things, and the support of our fan base, of our community to help us do that. And, we are probably currently in the middle of the Mountain West. But, as we look down, into the future, there's a big logo called Pac-12, and all of a sudden, the top half of the Mountain West is going in there, but a couple teams that are currently already there have significant advantage right now in, I'm going to say, buying power or incentive power, and so we need to shore that up, and we need to become more competitive in those terms, and I could dive into a number of examples of how we've missed out, maybe because there's a point for every young man that it's not relationship driven anymore. There's a price tag, and I'm not saying I agree with how we do things, but it's the way college football is, and I have to deal with it, and so we got to make it work for us. And then the second thing is player development, and that is our operational budget. Well, what does it look like? Strength and conditioning staff to have the best one in the country, have a facility that has all the modalities and things that we need to put a great team on the field. We want to be a line of scrimmage. We want to be the most physical team in the country. What does that look like from a nutrition standpoint? Athletic training, our medical department. We want to make sure we keep these young men, their health and well-being is a priority. Well, then we got to have great personnel in that spot. Academically, Ashley does it. We have, 3.4 GPA. Well, we want to continue to do that. We talk about, I threw it out when the first day I met the team is those, Bo Schembechler said, stating, those who stay will be champions. Well, champions in the classroom, on the field, in the community. Well, that stuff isn't just free. We have to invest in those areas, so that way we can continue to develop. And so there you're seeing it's kind of a twofold now, and then also having the facilities to back that up. And so there is a two-prong approach. You have the business NIL side, but you also have the things that you just have to be a successful program. And so there's an energy right now. There's an excitement right now because one, I think we can put a good product on the field. There's players in the Valley. There's players in the state of California. We're going to expand our recruiting just a little bit to make sure that we get the right type of people here. But there's also that Pac-12 move that's coming, and we need to utilize that energy and use this move to galvanize our fan base, our boosters, our supporters. We don't need to have we don't need to have sizzle. We need to have substance here. Mm-hmm. This is a substance-based community, blue collar, but we do need to make sure that we're investing in our facilities, and they're what we need to operate. They're what we need to win. Yeah. But at some point, we have to invest in that area, and again, the NIL and all that. It's a balancing act, and because you can steal from Peter to pay Paul, with those two different buckets.
Certainly, and there's a whole lot, obviously, to be built from there. And but as you said, winning means everything when it comes to developing all of that.
Fixes a lot of problems.
Fixes a lot of problems for sure. I only got a couple more minutes with you, but I want to just kind of leave it with this. The product on the field, from where Fresno State was last year to this year, what is going to be your stamp on the way this team is going to play moving forward, and how we're going to, consume Fresno State football moving forward?
Well, I think, without having a ton of interaction and getting to work with the players yet, been in the weight room, evaluating, adding, trying to get bigger, stronger, faster version of ourselves right now. I think being able to consistently run the football is something that we need to be able to do. Not only is that going to help us offensively, but it'll help us defensively as well.
Yeah.
How can we emphasize complementary football here at Fresno State, and how do we balance all three phases of the game to put us in a situation to win in the fourth quarter? And then I think just understanding situational football. I think we when I say we, Fresno State a year ago fell into a couple scenarios late in games where just shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Yeah.
And how can we emulate those moments in practice so that way when we get to those high-pressure moments in games, there's less of a flinch and more of a, hey, we got this type of mentality. And so I think just how we practice, how we do anything is how we do everything. Our guys have kind of bought into that right now. They understand that, Matt Entz doesn't have I'm not looking for excuses. If we're going to do it, let's do it the right way the first time. Versus having to come back and do it over again, because now you're wasting time and effort and energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I always kind of see it. I'm like, most successful teams right now, it seems like college football is leaning to that control the game, control the time of possession, that run kind of style.
Yep. And then play great defense.
Play great defense.
Yeah, if we can get off the field on third down, we can, and we can run the football and convert. It still comes down to blocking and tackling. Who's better? And there's a unique quote out there. If you win the explosive play, the missed tackle battle, and what was the other one? Turnover battle.
Yeah.
All things that you can control, blocking and tackling. You win those three things, and of course, explosive play and missed tackle just go hand in hand. You win 80% of your games. Mm-hmm. If someone walked in this room right now and said, "Hey, Matt, you're going to win 80% of your games at Fresno State," I would hope nobody would complain.
Yeah.
Those are Hall of Fame numbers, right? And so we're going to be great at simple.
Flat and simple. Those are the things that you spoke it right into existence. Those are the difference between wins and losses last year for this team. So you're speaking my language when it comes to that. So I'll leave you the. We got to take a break. So I know I wish I had more time with you. We could talk for an hour here or so, but we got to pay the bills somehow with the commercials here. So Matt, I appreciate you coming by. You tried Chai Tip, right?
I have. And I'm actually I'm taking. We're doing a kind of a dinner over at one of our places here in town that is famous for its tri-tips with our first-year players.
There you go.
So just trying to, again, peel back layers, get to know our players better, get to know what makes them who they are. And
awesome.
Excited for the season, excited for spring ball coming up.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to it. Of course, spring ball is right around the corner. So Matt Entz here in studio. Thanks again for coming by. Appreciate you taking the time.
You bet. Thank you. Hey, have me out again. I'd love it.
Absolutely. All right. We'll be right back with more Behind the Bench right after this.
Giants baseball is here.
Chapman, it's a drive out to left center field. At the wall, it is gone!
Your home for Giants baseball lives on 1430 ESPN Fresno.
Double play! And the inning is over.
Catch all the action home and away on the Central Valley sports leader. Giants baseball, brought to you by Bowman & Associates, Citizens Business Bank, Donald P. Dick, Pacific Steel Supply, and Madera Toyota Chevrolet.
Fresno, get ready to dance. Shakira is bringing her Las Mujeres Ya No Lloran World Tour to Valley Children's Stadium this fall. Experience the global icon live. It all goes down Thursday, August 7th. This will be one unforgettable night. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com. Don't wait. Shakira Live in Fresno will sell out fast. The wait is over. Valley Pure presents Crazy Horse, the wild new flower from Cowgirl Cannabis. This isn't just a strain, it's an experience. Ready to get on the wild side? Then saddle up and ride with Crazy Horse. Available now only at Valley Pure. Bold, untamed, unforgettable. Don't just hear about it, live it. Get to one of Valley Pure's 5 locations and grab your Crazy Horse today. Cowgirl Cannabis, blaze the trail.
Going, almost gone. That's right, folks. The giant $5 million furniture disposal sale at Fashion Furniture in Fresno is almost over. It's the final day. Your last chance to take advantage of these unbelievable deals. The prices return to normal in a matter of days. Extra sales help and parking will be made available to help with the crowd. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. The final days of the giant $5 million furniture disposal sale at Fashion Furniture in Fresno. Don't dare miss it.
This summer, KFC and F1 the movie are putting the pedal to the metal. Your favorite fill-ups are back, only $7. Choose from crispy chicken, tasty tenders, or our classic famous bowl, each with a drink, sides, and even sweet pie poppers. Need more fuel? Every Tuesday, grab 8 pieces of KFC's dark meat fried chicken or original recipe tenders for just $10. And don't forget to cool off with our new Peaches and Cream Sweet Lightning Soda. Limited time only, price of participation may vary. KFC, your summer pit stop for flavor.
As of today, the 30% federal solar tax credit is still available for homeowners looking to save energy and money, but it's scheduled to be phased out on December 31st, 2025. The time to call Donald P. Dick is now, 255-1644. Let Mr. Cool show you how to drive down the cost of home energy. The deadlines for installing solar and taking advantage of the tax credits are December 31st. Call Mr. Cool at 255-1644.
From breezy linen to tailored polos, the Patrick James Summer Collection defines cool, effortless style. It's where classic West Coast spirit meets modern refinement. Discover timeless looks from brands like Robert Graham, Johnny O, and Martin Dingman's The Lodge, alongside staples from Tommy Bahama, Cole Haan, and our signature Patrick James line. Made for the man who values quality, confidence, and the art of dressing well. Patrick James, California's sophistication. On Shaw, inside Fresno's Fig Garden Village.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know to check you have your phone first, before the cab pulls away.
Hey, thanks, man. No, wait, my phone! Come back! It's my boarding pass, credit cards, phone numbers, my life! Come back!
Checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Affiliate Smoothbrook, Illinois.
Welcome back to ESPN Radio 1430 Fresno. Almost done with today's Best of Behind the Bench show here today. We're going to quickly play one more clip, one of the more hilarious clips from the last couple of months where Phil nearly pulled an Asa and burned his house down. So let's take a listen.
Of course, but I have to talk about maybe a nitpick, and I'm wondering if I can get your opinion on this, Jorge, just real quick. And so I was at the house yesterday. I'm watching the Kings-Clippers game, and I'm watching the first half of it, right? And I go to, make some dinner. I live with a couple of roommates of mine. And so I go to preheat the oven for my dinner, because that's what I do. And I turn it up to 400 degrees. Now I'm sitting there again, waiting for it to fire up. It takes a little bit of time for this oven to fire up at 400 degrees. I got my roommates who are cooking in the kitchen. And
this is a regular oven, not a
just a regular convention oven.
Okay.
Yeah, regular convention oven. And they're cooking in the kitchen, right? And I'm starting to smell like a burnt kind of thing. And I'm like, are they charring something? Are they working with a little like wood char in the kitchen? I'm like, what is that smell? I'm like, no, they're not doing that. Maybe, but we had the window open because it was such a nice evening. And I'm like, is someone firing up a fire pit of some sort? Is someone getting a campfire going in the backyard? I'm like, I don't know if you can even do that in the city limits of Fresno, or maybe, I don't know. But it smelled smoky. And I'm like, why does it smell so smoky? Then my roommate, who's in the kitchen while I'm watching the basketball, turns to me. He's like, yo, are you cooking a pizza in the oven? And I'm like, no, I'm just preheating. I got my preheating stuff right there. I'm ready to throw it in once it gets to 400. He's like, no, yeah, there's a Little Caesars pizza in the oven. And I'm like, what? And there's cardboard, of course. We open it. It is as smoky as could be. And I look at the top of the pizza box. There's a hole, and it's charred, and there's all kinds of singed, ashy kind of looking cardboard in there. Luckily, it didn't fall to the bottom of it. It's the bottom of the cardboard stayed intact, but the top was completely singed, and there were some embers sitting at the top of it. We run it outside and have to pour some water on it and all that kind of stuff. And the house, I think, still smells like smoke today. I woke up this morning, and it still had a lingering sense of burnt cardboard on the afternoon and evening. And I still made my dinner. My dinner had a little bit of a smoky finish to it, so I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that bad, but almost burnt the house down. But my argument is, do you check the oven before you throw something or turn something on? To me, my assumption is nothing should ever be in the oven, ever. Like, I'm like, why am I having to assume something is in the oven? And second of all, leaving that all in there, I'm like, why am I expecting that to be there? But who leaves stuff in the oven? I don't know. It's been contentious in the house. I'm like, who leaves stuff in the oven? You got to check the oven before you turn it on. I don't know. I'm on a different wavelength sometimes because I'm just.
I'm Mexican, man. I have there's always stuff in the oven.
Okay.
Like whether it's like trays or some stuff, there's always. So we always have to check it, make sure.
Always check the oven.
Yeah. So like I get you. Like I understand where you're coming from, but. Like the way I was brought up, there was always something there, so there was always something to take out before you put it in.
Okay, all right. So I know today, and it distracted me so much I didn't watch the end of the Kings game because I flipped it to something else and I had to go do something else and finish it up. Oh, I had a fantasy baseball draft. That's what I had going on. That's why I missed the end of the Kings game. So, rule of thumb, and I've learned it today, or I learned it yesterday, check the oven before you turn it on. I didn't know that was something you needed to do.
No, and my roommate does this all the time, and I'm like, "There's trays there," and he's like, "It doesn't matter. It's just, they're they're cooking trays, so they they don't get burnt or nothing." But I'm like, "No, but it takes longer to heat up." Like, it's a whole argument.
Yeah, it can be a whole thing, but I will assume, but trays are one thing. Leaving a whole damn half of a pizza.
I guess somebody wanted to
in
eat
there.
That.
Somebody did, but I'm like, how long is the statute of limitations of leaving food in there as a storage facility? To me, I'm like, it's got to be like hours. You only put that in there, not like days. I don't know how long it was sitting.
Maybe
there.
Overnight.
Maybe it was a good thing I burnt the pizza and said, yeah, no, I don't think you can eat that anymore. So, anyways, that was my adventure on Sunday.
Man, hilarious story of Phil nearly burning his house down because of a pizza box. So real quick, as we have a little time left, let's go over the schedule and then we'll get out of here. Tomorrow on 1430 from 2 to 3, we're going to have Sportsline hosted by Tony D. Also on 1430 from 3 to 4, we're going to have another episode of Best of Behind the Bench. Friday, Sportsline from 2 to 3 by Tony D. No Behind the Bench on Friday because we are going to have Giants who will play at the Blue Jays. Pre-game 3:05, first pitch 3:35. On 790 will be the A's as they travel to Cleveland and face the Guardians. 3 o'clock pre-game, 3:30 first pitch for that game. Saturday, no Central Valley Sports Report by Paul Metters. He's going to return on August 9th. And on 1430 on Saturday, Giants versus Blue Jays, 11:05 pregame, 11:35 a.m. first pitch. On 790 is going to be A's versus Guardians, 3 o'clock pregame, 3:30 first pitch. And to cap off the weekend on Sunday, 14:30 is going to host the final game of the series between San Francisco and Toronto, super early in the morning, 8:05 a.m. pregame, 8:35 first pitch. On 790, it'll be A's versus Guardians, Game 3, 3 o'clock pregame, 3:30 first pitch. All right, thanks for listening to Best of Behind the Bench. I've been Tim Veer. We'll have another Best of episode tomorrow. Please join us here on 1430 ESPN Radio Fresno, the Valley's local sports leader.